Are you hiding from the world? Or do you want the world to hide away from you? Maybe you feel invincible. More than just a man. Or maybe you're just like me. You see that life is nothing but a sick joke, and so you choose a face to match.
It's not quite E3 until you've done an interview with Dax, and I've just been the Batman in the demo in here, Batman Arkham VR. You've kept this one under wraps. I have to say you've done an expert job of keeping us in the dark on this one. What's it like unveiling something like this at E3, and what's the reaction been?
Just being able to get out a leak-free announcement these days, you only get a few of those in your entire career. So the Sony press conference for us was pretty special. We thought someone is going to kind of let this out of the bag, but no, for that trailer to have gone live and to see the reactions just been amazing. So to come to E3, we've never done this before, like as a secret project, and to have a really strong demo. The combination of those two things, I think, has really given Batman Arkham VR an amazing impact here at the show. We're really happy.
And it's funny because it is sort of a no-brainer when you get VR to be the Batman. I mean, it's what you've been talking about all along, be the Batman. Yeah. Now you finally are the Batman, truly and well. And I thought it was a really neat demo where you sort of actually got to put on the suit, put on the mask, everything sort of, yes, you know, the things that you sort of dreamt of but couldn't quite imagine, perhaps.
It makes a lot of sense for VR, and I think the difference that Batman VR has perhaps against other VR games is that, you know, you are taking the role of an iconic character and then you are going into an amazing space, whereas I think a lot of VR experiences, they just take you, the player, into an amazing place. So you're sort of inside an incredible shell inside an incredible place. So there's like a double depth to the sort of believability and the impact of the experience.
And there are so many iconic places and locations set in Gotham that you want to explore. Can you expand any on what sort of places that will be there?
Yeah, we really wanted in Batman Arkham VR to go to as many of those iconic locations as possible. But the big ones that we've never done in any of the Rocksteady Arkham games have been being able to really explore Wayne Manor and also the Batcave. So in the demo here at E3, we go to both of those locations. There's a scene, you start off talking to Alfred, so you start as Bruce Wayne, and then you go down an elevator down into the Batcave and you suit up on the way down, putting on the Batsuit, putting on the gauntlets, putting on the cowl, taking your gadgets, batarangs, Batclaw, forensic scanner. So by the time you get to the Batcave, you're then fully transitioned from the playboy billionaire upstairs to the crime fighter downstairs.
And the second part of that demo, of course, is something a little bit more sort of gameplay heavy. It's an investigation. Nightcrawler has been. Well, I don't know if we're spoiling anything.
Are you going to give this away? Are you going to... Well,
he's in trouble. Let's put it like that. Yeah. And there's a crime scene. So
Nightwing hasn't had a good night, and so Nightwing's been beaten to death, and he's the original Robin. You know, he's Dick Grayson, Batman's oldest and most trusted ally. So the game then becomes a murder mystery from that point. We're so lucky that Batman has so many different aspects to his personality. The Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, the Batmobile, gliding, combat, all of these things. But at the core of it, he's always been a detective. So Batman is the world's greatest detective, is the heart of the promise that Batman Arkham VR offers. And VR just delivers on that crime scene investigation in terms of interface just so perfectly. So the gameplay really does revolve all around detective work and investigative forensic work.
And we should say, because when someone says that and people can't really see what's going on in the demo, they might get the interpretation that this is something fairly passive, something fairly sort of, you know, mundane, looking for sort of clues on the ground or picking up things. But Batman has a lot of cool gadgets that helps him make it a little bit more interesting, I'd say, to reconstruct these scenes.
Well, that was something coming into E3. We were thinking, you know, when we focus on crime scene investigation, are people going to think that means the experience is going to be very slow? But you've just played it yourself. Like, there's a tension and a pace to it that is not slow at all. Like, the last moments of Nightwing's life are reconstructed in this crime scene that you're investigating. And so you're seeing that battle, that fight, unraveling around you, and you can fast forward and rewind it and pause and engage in that investigation. And in VR, you sort of have to get out of the way. You really feel like you are in the middle of this fight. So the pace is just as much as any of the other games we've made. The intensity is just as much as well. It's just this sense of immersion that we've never had before that makes Batman VR something really special.
And then it really feels like there's a narrative being told there. It's not just sort of, it's very cinematic.
Yeah, the narrative component is always critical to us, and being able to work so closely with DC and our colleagues over there, we always make sure we're telling a classic Batman story. We're not just using Batman as a vehicle for gameplay. Obviously, that's critical to us as a studio, but we also want to deliver a story and a gameplay experience that really lives up to the legacy of Batman, whether it's through the comic books, or through the movies, or through our games and the games of others. It's got to be a great story as well as a great gameplay experience. And doing that in VR has been a real test for us, because we've never worked with this technology before, so it was something we set out to achieve, and everyone at the studio, I think, is really proud of the work that we've done on this.
As far as you understand, these are not the only two components, the immersion and the detective work. There will be some action as well. Can you tell us anything about that?
Not beyond what we're showing here at E3. The expanse of the game is obviously a lot broader than what we're showing off here, and the number of locations that you go to and the way in which the mystery unfolds is really the heart of the game. So that's a big element that if I gave you all those details, it would spoil it. But VR, it's so difficult to express unless you're actually inside the headset. So that's what we really hope, is that gamers get excited about this idea and really try it for themselves, because it's only once you're in that VR realm that you really genuinely feel like you are the Batman, deeper and more profoundly than you've ever done before.
Yes, and I sincerely hope that the interaction with Alfred is something that we'll get to experience with perhaps some of the other iconic characters of this universe, because I won't want to spoil anything again, but it sounded like maybe the Penguin would be involved in some. Maybe we'll meet up with him at some point.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Penguin stuff is awesome. Yeah, it's so good. I'm nodding now. Yes.
Yes. All right. So something that is always going to be asked when it comes to a VR experience: what's the scope of this? I mean, perhaps not the scale of, say, an Arkham City or Arkham Asylum or Arkham Knight, but what kind of scale are you aiming for?
It's a totally different question than we've ever really had to grapple with before, because just of the way that you move through console and PC games versus a VR game. So you cover a lot of different territory, like we were talking about, those iconic locations. You do cover a lot of different territory, from Wayne Manor all the way through Gotham City. The kind of duration, it's sort of difficult to talk sort of in minutes of gameplay, all of that, but we think the kind of core narrative is about 60 minutes long, and then there's lots of reasons and motivations to replay for additional content, which gives you probably another 60 to 90 minutes of gameplay. So that's sort of where we feel VR
feature film kind of length.
Yeah, like a long feature film, like a director's cut.
Cool. And of course, I was playing it on PSVR. Are there plans for other platforms as well? Are you talking about that?
We've announced exclusively on PlayStation VR.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure chatting with you guys.
You never need to take it off.